I can feel the Spirit of the Lord right now. So let me ask you, do you want to walk in the miraculous, in dunamis power, as the very embodiment of God on earth, with streams of living water bursting forth from within you? Of course you do, but you're going to need a well from which to draw from. You can't give away what you don't have. And speaking of wells, Jesus told the Samaritan woman, "The water I give will become in you like a fountain of life that lasts forever." You see, the Word became flesh, so that flesh might become the Word. This is Spirit Reboot. Hey friends, thanks for watching and thanks for being a subscriber, a supporter of my ministry, and a supporter of this movement, Spirit Reboot. What is it about? I truly believe we must be a people that can appropriate, like they did in the book of Acts, and enforce the victories that were won on the cross. And here's the deal. Acts 19 kind of puts it in perspective. You know, I think, well, Apollos was off somewhere. Paul had gone into Ephesus and run into some believers. Look it up. It's in Acts 19. And he said, he found some believers and he asked them, "Did you receive the Holy Spirit when you believed?" And they didn't even know there was a Holy Spirit. And you might walk into some churches, a lot of churches today, and you'll hear the same question. We didn't even know. Or we heard about the Holy Spirit, but we don't talk about that here. Or we find churches, even charismatic churches, who have become offended by the work of the Holy Spirit because of some goofiness and some abuse here and there. But we can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. God's plan from the beginning was that the Holy Spirit would come and indwell inside of the heart of the believer. And I had began to start teaching on this, that the heart becomes, to use a modern analogy, a router, a modem, a hotspot for the Holy Spirit. And what is that? It's the capability to connect, receive, and then transmit kingdom realities. We've got to make the main thing the main thing. And that is found in John, John 7. I think 38 and 39, where he says, out of your innermost being or your belly will flow rivers of living water. God, out of the innermost being, habitates and exists and abides. That was the whole purpose for sending the Holy Spirit, to reproduce himself in us so that we could become a point of contact or a hotspot by which we introduce the gospel to others, and we actually give them and enable them to access God and the gospel. So the gospel isn't informative only. It's not just a message. It's not information. It becomes revelation through the transmission and the transference of what you carry. Got it? It's the presence of God that you're carrying. And when we walk into a room like they did in the book of Acts, our shadow can heal people. We're not there. For 2,000 years, we almost get there and we pull back. And we get offended, we pull back. And then we have periods in the church where we get real intellectual and we get really cerebral and we become very doctrinal, theologically fixated. And then we start debating doctrines and oh my gosh, and we get way off track. You know, in the medical industry, we have something called functional medicine that's starting to invade the conventional ways that we've always accepted as being true, because they're finding out they don't know everything that they think that they know. It's crazy. And then you're always going to have, you know, in the world, a spirit of mammon that controls the hearts. Just like you have in the church, you have the religious spirit controlling and politically keeping the Holy Spirit and this revelation at bay. And here's another analogy. A can of oxygen. You've seen them sold in stores, especially in higher elevations. From the looks of it and from the weight of it, you wouldn't know there's anything in here. It feels like an empty can. But when we pull this trigger, pressurized air is released. And that's how it is with some Christians who know how to engage with heaven and bring heaven to earth, who know how to release the power and the presence of the Holy Spirit. And that takes trust. You know, even as a believer, I went through many, many, many years where I didn't fully open up my heart to God. I still had areas that were closed off. And so it was like a partial flow. It was like a valve of the heart that was stuck and the blood wasn't going in and out. I mean, the life of the Holy Spirit wasn't flowing in and out of me. I was almost like jammed up, constipated. I didn't have a clue, and the church didn't teach me this. I had to have an encounter with God. And anyone out there who's had an encounter with God begins to realize that the church hasn't given us the tools. They've really dropped the ball. And so, you know, where's your trigger? That's what's coming up this year. So I begin to reveal that each and every one of us has a trigger, has a place in our heart, has an experience with God, that knows that God is more real than anything that we can see. The air that we can't see is more powerful and more substantial than things that we can actually grab a hold of. The air that you breathe in and out, and you don't even think about it, keeps you alive. And spiritually, the Holy Spirit keeps you alive, empowered by his presence. Where is your trigger? The devil uses triggers too, because he knows how the heart works. The heart is full of valves, just like it is in the natural. Everything in the natural mirrors and reflects the spirit realm, the unseen realm. You know, valves that let blood flow in and out. What is yours? It all depends on how you came to experience God. And you may have come to experience him in the darkest times of your life. Because in the valley of the shadow of death, God shows up. God is near to the brokenhearted, and he saves those who are crushed in spirit. I mean, it's just all biblical. And we just need to make the main thing the main thing. Until next time, remember, it is with your heart, is with your innermost spirit, man, that you connect with God. Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flow the issues of life. Out of it and through it, others can obtain access and find God for themselves. It was always meant to be that way. The gospel isn't just a message, but it is something that we share relationally. All right, that's all I have for you today. But if you appreciate these videos, if you really like the content, I'm not asking you to just hit a button or grow my YouTube channel. I want you to share this with those who really need it, who feel like they are reformers, who want to be a part of this awakening, who want to walk together into truth. I'm never going to sacrifice truth on the altar of political correctness or the fear that I might offend someone. I love you guys, but I'm not afraid to offend. You know, John Wimber once said that God offends the head in order to get to the heart. It's all about the heart. Until next time, I love you. I'll talk with you soon. Bye now.